Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today again I am here with Savana from Angel Competition Bikinis, and we're going to talk a little bit about, some tips for the first time competitors out there, because I don't know about you, but in my DM I always get asked, hey Ashley, I'm a first time competitor, any tips? And honestly, it's a hard question to answer because it's like, where do I begin? There's so much.
There's so much.
So maybe you can just send them this link. Yeah, let's talk about our first time competitors out there.
Yeah, so I do consultations with a ton of first time competitors, and they are always asking, where do I start? I don't even know my show dates. How do I pick a show? So how do you pick shows? Or like, how would a first time competitor even look for shows?
I would say go on to npcbikini.com, and they're gonna have like a list of shows. They're gonna have show results, and I think it's also helpful for the competitors to look at the photos and videos on there so they can do a little research. I don't think a lot of people realize that there's so much information out there online, but you need to study and research the sport, because if not, you're gonna be very clueless when you step on stage.
So, is there any like tips to maybe like save on some fees for competing? Because if you don't know, competing is pretty expensive.
It is pretty expensive, but it is I would say, the best learning lesson you'll ever experience. So although it is expensive, it's priceless in a way. There are ways to cut costs, but I think like picking a show that's close to home, especially if it's your first show and you're just getting your feet wet, is a great way to start. Little things like that, even with meal prep, buying it in bulk. But there's a lot, that could be a whole video in itself, to be honest. But there are ways to do it. You just gotta be smart about it and be very efficient. And I would say as well, you're putting in so much work and spending so much time in the gym that it's probably best to make it the best experience possible. So little details like suit, tan, hair, they're gonna be important to you on that day. So kind of like your wedding day in a sense, because I know you like to compare the suits to like your wedding dress.
Yes.
It's true though, like it's an experience that not a lot of people will get, so make the most of it.
A lot of competitor questions that I've gotten for first time is just like, how do I stay motivated? Like the diet, the discipline of going to training, and a lot of people aren't used to being, on a strict diet and in a routine for, cardio, and it's gonna get hard. So you would be the best person to ask, like, how do you just stay motivated during a contest prep?
I think motivation is something that comes and goes. And I'll be honest, I'm not motivated 100% of the time, every single day. But I am ambitious, because I don't think of the temporary suck or the temporary uncomfortableness. Is that a word?
Yeah.
The uncomfortability. Discomfort. Okay, there we go. I don't think of the temporary discomfort. I think of what's ahead. What is the ultimate goal? Of course, it sucks right now. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. I just want to go to bed. However, what is the ultimate goal? So anytime you're lacking motivation, just think, you know what? It's a mood. I'm grumpy. Tomorrow will be better.
Yeah, I love that. And what about like stage jitters? Like right before you're about to go on stage, it's their first time. Maybe they don't even have a background in like dance or being on a stage. I know for myself, I've never been on a stage. I didn't do plays or anything.
Right.
So what can you do backstage to maybe help calm the nerves down?
Well, you know what I like to think, and I know it sounds kind of strange for me to say, but you almost have to think, it's not that serious. Okay,
it's true.
It's not that serious. I know in the moment you're thinking everyone is looking at you and is gonna judge you on how well you do, but at the end of the day, whether you get first place or last place, your family's still gonna love you, your friends are still gonna support you, life is still good, right? But I would say if you're feeling nervous, try to convert that nervous jitters into excitement, and don't overthink things, because I think a lot of times competitors will overthink things on stage when they're posing, and it shows. Best to kind of just have the mentality, you know what? I'm just gonna have fun, okay? This is fun. Even if you're tired, even if you're hungry, for that 5 minutes on stage, just show complete excitement, because this is a special moment. And although at the time you might be nervous and not realizing it, you'll realize it after the fact that, wow, that's something incredible that you just accomplished. You stepped on stage, right? So no matter your placing, you just accomplished something that 99.99% of people will never get to experience, and 99.99% of people in the world are admiring you for even getting into that shape, to getting to that level, to be able to step on stage in a bikini. Kids, who can say that? Not many people. So just realize that no matter your placing, there are so many people that will look up to you and be like, wow, that is incredible.
Yeah.
You never know who you're inspiring.
Exactly. So it's more about the journey than the destination.
Exactly. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's true.
It is true. What other tips can you think of that maybe a first-time competitor might need some help on?
Well, I would say let's go more into the experience part of it, like you just brought up. I think a lot of times first-time competitors will have such high expectations, right? They will come into a show with the expectation to win.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing to say because although we train to win, and of course everyone wants to win, especially if you're a first timer, just realize you're going to make mistakes. Okay, I still make mistakes.
I know, I do too.
All the time, but I learn from them. So I make every mistake a learning lesson. However, when you're first getting started, maybe not focus on that number placing so much and just focus on, you know what, I'm going to do my best. I'm bringing my best to the stage today. I'm going to have fun. And regardless of what happens, I've already achieved what I need to. And hey, if you win, it's icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
But especially these first few shows, you're getting your feet wet. You're going to learn so much in these first few shows. Don't let yourself get disturbed, or don't let yourself get discouraged, because if you go into a show with these expectations, and let's say you go into a show expecting to win and you don't, it's going to be devastating. You're going to get discouraged.
Yeah.
And I will say, even for myself as a pro, and I've won 30 times, I never go into a show with the expectation to win, you know? Because I realized, hey, at the end of the day, I cannot control who shows up, how it's judged. I can only control myself. So there are some factors that I can't control. And as long as I know I did my best with prep and I did everything I possibly could, I can't be mad. So if I win, icing on the cake. But if I go into a show and it's the best I've ever looked and I've made improvements and I'm happy about all the aspects of my physique and package, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
The only time I get a little discouraged is if I make a stupid mistake, or if I know I could have done something better with training or prep or something like that. So
I think that's a good point, because when I was at the beginning of my journey, I really wish I would have like really done it, you know? I think some people kind of wishy-washy where, you know, they might be off their diet a little bit, and then, you know, they think it's okay to have a few bites here, and I don't think they understand how serious you need to be, you know, to do well until they get to stage, and then they see, oh my goodness, there's hundreds of us who look amazing. So it's really important that you do take it serious, and you know, if you're gonna spend the time putting in the work, like, just really go after it. Like, give it your all. Like, there's no, you know, no regrets.
absolutely. I like that. That's a good way to look at it. And, you know, as long as you go in, like I said, with no regrets, be proud of yourself, you know? Be proud. It's a good moment. Don't ruin it by disappointment. And, you know, I think you've probably seen in your time that, you know, there's an athlete that perhaps has a lot of potential. Maybe they need to fix some here and there, but you can see, like, wow, they can really be something good if they stick with it. However, their ego might be too big, and if they don't win a show, their first show, they just drop off. And I hate to see it, but you know, you can't come into a show with all these expectations.
I think a lot of competitors, I know myself, I thought I might look like you after my first prep. I thought that's how it worked. I just didn't understand how long it took. So I think maybe like having them set some real expectations for muscle growth.
Oh yes.
Because it takes a long time to get, mature muscle that's like lean. Your first time shredding down, you might not look like an Olympian your first time.
Yeah, I get that too. Like somebody that has not even had a training background or an athletic background. Maybe they do yoga at their local studio twice a week and that's it. And they want to prep for their first show and they set a time frame of like 3 months and it's like, oh no. No. Yoga training is much different from bikini athlete training. So you gotta realize, just like you said, having realistic time frames is going to be essential. Know that this is a process and I've been training 10 years and I'm still trying to work on these arms, okay? So just to give you some perspective here, it is gonna take a while. You gotta be patient. And I think in order to keep that motivation alive and to, keep your drive going, it's just like, enjoy it, every single moment of it. Enjoy waking up early to do cardio, enjoy eating prep food, just immerse yourself in the lifestyle and just realize, hey, I'm in this for the long run. And I think another essential part of having a successful career and making the improvements you want is making sure your off season goes smoothly.
Goodness, yes.
I almost want to say off season is just as important as contest prep itself.
It's more.
Yeah.
It's probably more. It sets you up for either a good or bad prep,
Yes.
So like I had my best off season last year. I took off. It was the first time that I pretty much stayed clean.
Yeah.
I didn't do binges or huge cheat meals like I had in the past. I didn't want it. I just liked my prep food and I kept cardio in and I just kept my routine.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was able to maintain a little bit better and it just set me up for now starting prep. My calories are higher and my cardio is not as high as it's been.
Absolutely. I think a big mistake that competitors will make is they'll compete in their first show. After the show, they binge for days, maybe weeks. And then they put on a lot of weight in the off season and they almost justify it saying like, I deserve it, I need it to grow. No, you don't. You don't need that much excess calories to put on muscle. However, they get so above stage weight that when they do go to prep, their focus then becomes leaning out instead of working on the muscle groups that they need to. So, we're human. We only have a certain amount of energy, right? So let's say I had a really crappy off season. I went up 25 pounds and it's time for me to prep for my show and to cut. You know what my focus is going to be for this prep? It'll be getting lean, okay? So I'm going to give most of my energy towards cardio, diet. And when we're doing cardio, diet, and we're depleting ourselves so suddenly, running on E, we're not gonna have the energy to train shoulders, for example, like we could if we just kind of stayed closer to stage weight and then did a, more subtle cut, because you don't need to cut much, right? So you can spend more time on the areas that need the most attention rather than focusing on like, oh, gotta get lean. So
yeah, that's one thing that I've learned is just off season does not mean the diet is off.
yes.
No, it does not. Once the show is over, you just keep your routine up. Like have one nice meal, like a nice meal and maybe a small dessert. But those gooey creations, your body is so sensitive at that time that you will pack on the pounds fast. And you might think, oh, I'm shredded lean, I have abs now, and it's, obviously my body's not gonna hold on to it, I'm gonna use it.
Yes.
It's not the case.
Oh, absolutely. Your body is like a calorie sponge post-show. Unfortunately, I know life is not fair. It is so much easier to put on fat than to lose it.
Yeah.
So much harder. It's unfortunate. But yes, just like you said, post-show meal, go for it, Enjoy yourself, but get right back on track. Do a reverse diet after a show slowly. Don't turn a cheat meal into a cheat day that turns into a cheat week, that turns into a cheat month, and next thing you know, you're 25 pounds above stage weight and you've got a lot of work ahead of you.
Where do you think is a safe range to stay post-show for like a first-time athlete?
So that's going to be dependent on, how big are you? I know you're a lot taller than me, so your weight can definitely go up higher than mine. I'm 5'5". I like to keep my range within 10 pounds, and to be honest, this whole last year I have not even gotten close to that. Maybe 5.
Yeah.
But I've been doing competitions throughout the whole year. But for you, what do you, are you about 5'8", I'm assuming?
Yep, I'm so 5'7", 3/4", so
Okay,
5'8".
yeah.
5'8", and yeah, so it's a little bit different. So I will fluctuate, I think 15-ish pounds-ish,
Okay.
like 12 to 15. I would like to maintain 10 to 12, but I still am building muscle.
Right.
I'm not at a spot yet where I can maintain. So I think it's gonna be higher for me until I'm done kind of getting to a spot where I can maintain.
Yes.
And then doing small tweaks because I'm still actively trying to build muscle and, sculpt at the same time.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good point. Once you do get to a point where you can kind of maintain, you can definitely do so. So that's what I've been doing. But while maintaining, I put most of my focus on my upper body. Lower body is fine. Upper body, I'm always trying to work, but I still can make some improvements during the in-season, but it is harder, to be honest. If I was off-season for a longer period of time, I would probably be able to put on some more muscle easier. So it all depends where you're at, because at bikini there is a limit, right? So once you hit that limit, you shouldn't try to gain more muscle because that's just gonna hurt you. So if you're at a place where you can maintain and just slightly sculpt, then that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause. Okay, what other tips can you think of for like first-time competitors?
Well, I think a lot of times competitors have difficulty trying to figure out what division they're best for, especially if they're just fresh getting started, I think sometimes they will see somebody on Instagram and want to look like them, but at the end of the day, we gotta take into consideration our genetics. So everyone's built differently, and there will be certain divisions that are best for your build. And in most cases, it's harder to fight your genetics than to try to fit into a division that might not be right for you.
I agree. So sometimes like I have athletes that it's hard to tell. So they can cross over too at first, like at local shows.
True.
And the judges can kind of tell them like where they think that they might be best at. But what kind of structure would fit the bikini category? Like what would that person's genetics look like, and what could you look at your own physique and maybe assess, do I look like a bikini athlete?
I think, in my opinion, the best bikini athletes are built very petite. And I'm not talking about height, I'm talking about bone structure itself, like small wrists, small ankles. Usually larger framed individuals tend to bump up, right? So if you have like a girl that's pretty wide in her shoulders and her bone structure is pretty thick, she's gonna have a hard time trying to fit into the bikini mold because we're kind of small. I don't think people realize because they see us tanned on stage in heels, but I'm pretty petite framed, and you are too, I can see by your wrists. So yes, I would say in bikini, it's gonna be more petite frame, and I think the hourglass and a small waistline is super important in bikini. Of course, it's important in the other divisions too, but I would say essential in bikini. It's gonna be really hard to fight not having a small waistline, more so in bikini than, let's say, figure or any other division.
Yeah, I agree. And then so like moving into the division between bikini and wellness. Wellness is so new. It's really hard. I think a lot of athletes don't understand the difference because they don't have the eye to be able to see the differences. What would you look for if you were wellness?
So we got the girls who can put on a good amount of muscle in their lower body for wellness. I think I'm jealous. Here's the thing. I can definitely put on more muscle in my leg faster than my upper body. However, I am nowhere close to being wellness. If you put me side by side in person to a wellness competitor, you will see the difference, especially in the quads.
Yeah.
Although, I have a decent size glutes and hamstrings, nowhere near what it would need to take to get to wellness, okay? Especially in the quads. Like if you look at their quads, I would almost say like we're talking about almost like women's physique bodybuilder with not the amount of leanness, but with size. Very thick lower body, so genetically blessed. But I'm so happy they came up with that division, because there's a lot of girls that are like that. They just put on a lot of muscles so easily in their legs, and it used to be like, you know, before there was a wellness division, you'd see like bikini competitors trying to like run off muscle in their lower body, and that's a shame.
I know. I think with wellness, I see a lot of like lower body sports. So like the soccer players. I guess in Brazil they do beach volleyball, and they have big jumping quads from jumping quads. And then for bikini, a lot of the athletes are cheer, dance, gymnastics, some track because of their leanness is what I've seen. As far as athlete, I had volleyball, so that doesn't apply. But you know, there's the next level is kind of going to be figure. So what genetic structure would you look for in like that athlete if you're a first time competitor?
So when I think of like figure and beyond, I think like your clavicle, like the width of your shoulders has to be pretty wide. Like if you saw me hit like a figure pose, it's embarrassing. Yeah. So we're talking about the athletes that are upper body, I don't want to say dominant, but can put on a good amount of muscle in their upper body. Their bone structure is wider. You'll see wider clavicles. Their shoulders will be wider apart because they really have to hit that front pose and back pose like and show width in that X frame. I would say glutes aren't quite as important in figure. You might even find that. I would almost say like some bikini competitors have bigger glutes than like figure, but they are the athletes that can put on muscle a lot easier than bikini. Like, you know, there are some people out there that they don't have to do much to put on a whole bunch of muscle. For me, it's kind of difficult to put on muscle, but you'll definitely notice the upper body difference the most, I would say, in figure and beyond, rather than, you know, us bikini and wellness. They're very athletic, muscular types.
I think a lot of CrossFitters would fit into this criteria very easily, just because they are very full. They like the strong lifts. They like to lift very heavy and a lot of upper body dominating lifts. But you know, you can always start in one and move up. I know certain people might not be ready for figure at the beginning because it's a lot of muscle you need to have.
Totally.
And you know, same thing with wellness. You might start bikini and really love training quads and glutes and just keep bumping yourself up.
Absolutely. And I think like as you start to train, you'll kind of figure out where your body lies. So especially those individuals out there that has not really even trained for anything and they're super new. They might find like, okay, I've been, you know, training for bikini for like 6 months, but wow, I'm really putting on muscle a lot faster in my lower body. Wow, it's really coming on. Then in that case, you can definitely bump up. I think bikini is a great gateway division to where, you know, you have realistic time frame to where you can prepare for it. And then as you get more experienced and you train more and more, you can see how your body is reacting. And at that point, like, you gotta ask yourself, am I fighting my genetics to keep small for bikini? Or if I, you know, maybe focus a little more on the lifts, could I just bump up and my body would be much happier?
I like that too. What about for beginners, like, what about posing? That is a big one. Like, how do they start? You know, never posed in their life before. What do they do?
I think a lot of times people will see, you know, maybe their favorite competitor on Instagram and try to emulate their posing routine, but they've never even posed before. I think it's important to get the basics down first, like the front pose, back pose. Then once you get front pose and back pose, add transitions. Once you do that, add sass and flare, and so on and so on. But I think, you know, the internet is the best place to kind of learn at least the front pose and back pose, and then after that you can hire a posing coach or whatever. But luckily there's a lot of information available online, like YouTube. I know I have a few tutorials for front pose and back pose, but you know, before you hire a coach to help you with your posing, at least maybe get the basics. Front pose.
Yeah, that's what I think, just practice too.
Yeah.
Like, how often should they be practicing going into their first competition?
Well, I would say like every day would be ideal. I know it's not realistic to do every single day, but even if you got like 5 minutes, even to practice in heels, because I find a lot of competitors who are new don't even have heel experience. So depending what your career is, like, are you on your feet all day wearing tennis shoes, or maybe you are wearing heels? It's definitely a thing though. You can tell when people aren't experienced in heels. It definitely shows. So make sure you're comfortable with that. So at the very least, become comfortable in heels, and that's something you can do at home when you're cooking or doing the dishes or whatever.
Yeah, literally throw on some heels and just wear them around your house, meal prepping. I have a little trick that I do, so whenever I'm in the bathroom when I'm competing, anytime I see a mirror, I'll just like hit a little front pose.
There you go.
Or microwave minutes.
Microwave minutes.
So those are your posing minutes. So you say you don't have time to pose, but when you're waiting for your food to microwave, hit a front pose and hold it.
Just emulate the pose and envision it in your mind.
Yeah.
So, question for you is, new time competitors, they're like, oh my gosh, the suits.
Yeah.
Where do I get them?
Oh my gosh.
How do you make them look so good? They're super sparkly. I'm so lost. What color do I get? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's where I come in. So this is what I do as a job. I'm a suit stylist. So I literally help first-time competitors and seasoned competitors design their suits, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
We go over color and design and fit because it's their first time. But a lot of first-time competitors, I'll have them start in a practice suit.
Yeah.
Because they might be a year out, like you just want to start building and get practicing and putting reps, doesn't have a show date in mind. Like a practice suit is nice, you can get it sweaty and dirty, take it to the gym, and it kind of like is a try-on way for you to figure out, like, do I like this top, or do I want to go smaller, bigger, larger? And I do free consultations too, so if you ever want to get on a call, we can with myself at Angel Competition Bikinis, and that's where you get the best suits. Usually you'd want to order at least 8 to 10 weeks out on your first time, just so you have it, you have time to practice in it, and if you need any alterations on your first time, you might under or overestimate what you plan to lose. So we do free alterations on your suit because I know a lot of athletes are worried about their suit won't fit because they're ordering when they're not essentially safely yet.
Yeah, that's good tips. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and Savannah, thank you for joining me in this conversation, and you have some pretty good questions, so hopefully this helped you new competitors out there. But anyway, I will catch you guys in the next video, but Savannah, tell them where they can follow you at.
You can follow me at savsharp_ on Instagram, and you can also find my YouTube channel, Savannah Sharp.
Oh, there you go. Well, we will catch you guys later. Toodaloo.